can get it for free, sure. Will I pay money? No. Anyway, welcome to So What You Learn, where we learn from other people's mistakes so you don't have to. I am Alex.
I'm Zach.
Dallas.
Yeah, boy.
Oh, God. And we have a super special guest, Wendy.
Hi, everybody. Hi.
Thank you so much for coming on. I'm super excited for this episode because I don't know if you know this about yourself, but you're kind of fascinating.
Oh, thank you.
And it's effortless. So
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. I hope that everybody learns from my many, many mistakes. That I've
perfect.
I mean, you'll fit right in here.
How was everyone's week? How did everything go?
I helped someone move today in a pouring ass rain, so I'm a little
fun.
cranky. But other than that, I'm doing good.
Oh, a little soggy Zach.
Soggy. Basically.
Is your hair wet right now?
No, it's just greasy.
Oh. Got it.
But no, so my friend lives in a tiny house behind somebody else's bigger house, because Seattle. And basically the backyard, because it was raining so much and we were going back and forth, turned into the mud field from 1917.
Oh, God.
You know, with a little less corpses.
Oh, I mean, that you know about.
Exactly. I don't
It
know
is
what
Washington.
I don't know what this one has underneath the soil.
Secrets.
Muddy secrets.
So that was fun, slogging through the mud today. But other than that, it's been a pretty good week.
Yeah, I spent most of the week sick.
Yeah, you've been MIA for most of the week.
Yeah, I've been on the in the cabin Dallas fever mode. But it was kind of nice to. I still had a bunch of energy, but I was really fucked up in the head sick. So I just kind of played video games for 10 hours a day. Right. Yeah. But I think it all derived from getting way too wasted on Saturday when I felt a cold coming on, and then I just kick-started it, make it happen.
Well, what do they say? It's feed a cold and drown a fever in alcohol.
Yeah, that happened.
Remember, kids, the minute you start feeling sick, give your immune system a 1-2 punch.
Yeah. Poison.
Oh, don't forget to smoke 15 cigarettes. That'll also help. Yeah,
that's a
just
triple whammy.
pile it on. You know what would be kind of a weird experiment if you took the debris from all of the bad things you did throughout the week. So if you kept every cigarette butt and every beer and every fast food bag and just looked at it
actually
at the end of the week.
We had a class in college that did that. It challenged you for a week to carry every piece of trash you had on your person throughout that day and then collect it at that day, and then you'd bring it into a bag at the end of the week to be shamed in front of the whole class, but it really wasn't because the whole class did it.
But yeah.
It was just to show you. This was back in 2011 or so, right before we really most mainstream society accepted that we should do something about trash and recycling and the earth.
It's hey, do you know that just by existing in our society, you're killing the planet? Congratulations!
And I will say it was very shocking, to see. I wasn't a smoker back then, but to see all the shit.
You had 8 cigarette butts in your pocket. By the
weirdest thing.
Yeah. How high was the pile? What did you have? Do you remember?
Could you make a nest out of it afterwards?
I slept on it.
You're
most comfortable pillow I've ever had. No, it was a good substantial. It wasn't quite a garbage bag full, but it was a kitchen bag, maybe about halfway full, 3/4 full or so.
Gosh,
illuminating a lot of cheap beer cans.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of single-use plastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Wrappers and shit like that.
Yeah.
50 Cent was in there.
Just waiting for that. I don't think I did anything super interesting this week. But I had a really shitty day at work for no reason. Everyone was upset for one reason or another.
Just a bad vibe.
A bad vibe. 2 people were coming down with me getting sick. The district manager was just hanging out, taking all the leadership people off the floor forever, and everyone was just pissed. And so then 2 days later, I go back to work, and we realize that our work computer system does not block the reductress, which I don't know if any of you are familiar with the reductress, but it's like The Onion, but feminist.
Oh, okay.
And it's wonderful. And we pulled up this article, and the headline is, shitty day just continuing? Wow, what started as an incredibly shitty day for you seems to just keep going for some reason. You awoke to a parking ticket and a weird text from your ex, but that's not all. This day just keeps relentlessly throwing heaps of shit on you. When you got into work, your internet was being weird. You took deep breaths out of concern that your shitty attitude was just clouding your judgment, but even after several deep breaths and speaking the words, "What am I missing?" at your computer, the problems persisted.
If you could forward that to me, because I want to send that to my boss. But, I started out here in sweet, sweet Burien.
Woo, represent. This is pretty much it's turning into
podcast.
Burien cast.
Yeah. Is it Burien
A
podcast?
lot of local references.
Yeah. Well, good. I started out here working for the Alliance of American Veterans and doing telemarketing, and I also worked for Taco Bell. And
Nice. It's a great Taco Bell.
It is. I'll just come right out because there's so many stories from me working there that it could take up like an hour. But what I learned immediately,
Sure.
really fast, just from there, we can just mark Taco Bell off the list, is that even the most responsible adult employees that need the job and have to work there
Sure.
will still wipe their ass with a soft
Like a tortilla. Yes.
if you're fucking mean to the drive-through person. So just remember that,
Wow.
ladies and gentlemen.
Take care of your, take care of your fast food workers.
Check yourself as you're going through the drive-through. If you're rude, I'm sure this doesn't just apply to,
Like
The
just
the
like
bell.
a good butt sweat pat, or like
no, like a wipe.
Full on in.
Like a wipe.
Can't that
Like-
kill you though?
I'm sure it probably could have,
Yeah,
but
okay.
Just a few extra
like,
beans in your bean
for-
burrito. You'll be fine.
14-year-old me was just kind of like I couldn't believe it because I was really naive, and so I'd
Yeah,
never
yeah.
seen anything like that
Yeah.
before.
Is that like
But
your
then
first job or
It was
a mom?
well, like the with the Alliance, that was really my first job, but I was only there a couple weeks, and then
Okay.
I got on at Taco Bell,
I see.
and so when I saw that happen, I was like,
Can I
the
try?
shit's real. Yeah, right, yeah. I'm all, the shit's real. Like
call
the
next
shit
one.
that people talk about
Yeah.
is real. Like, the stuff that they've done in fast food, like working fast food, they've probably done. Like,
Interesting. Yeah.
You
I've never saw it at the fast food places I ever worked at, but I've heard some stories. So
Yeah.
definitely believe it. And I
Yeah.
still eat fast food way too much.
I still eat there. I'm just nice. I'm just
Yeah, you
nice.
just have to be
When
nice.
I go, when I
Yeah.
go
Call
to
Yeah.
jokes, be like, "Hey, oh, you're out of that thing. That's okay. I'll make this decision."
I
And
can't
be like, "What do you mean you're out of that obscure thing I want?"
No, that does actually make a lot of sense because I have had a couple drive-through workers just say, "And thank you for being nice." And I literally just said thank you. Fucking
please and thank you.
Yeah, it's kind of sad how the most basic
the bar is set way
decency,
too
it's
fucking
so low.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, working.
Well,
customer
also
service.
it's set low for me too, because I went to get to Corner Bakery earlier today, or was it yesterday for lunch, and I go there and get my meatball panini and my Caesar salad.
That sounds
and
fantastic.
The lady was like, "Oh, hi, welcome in," and I'm like, "Oh, hi," and I ordered, and she's like, "Your hair looks really great today, by the way," and I'm like, "Who are you?" I don't know how to handle this.
So it kind of goes both ways, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like,
right.
if you're, you can be really nice to customers too. Kind of
Yeah.
make their day.
True.
Yeah, like working customer service in my specific line of work, the customers are usually pretty wonderful, but also working up on Capitol Hill, you get the customers that are like, do not look at you, do not acknowledge that you are a person, and just walk up, put their stuff down, put their chip in, do their thing, take it out, and then you're gonna offer them your receipt or their receipt, and they just put their hand up and walk off. And I'm
Nice.
just like,
Didn't even take a
and I
AirPods
guess
out.
I'll just go fuck myself.
You're welcome.
I want to see a
What I
compilation
do though is
of
I
this-
have a button for the ADA door.
Yeah.
And when you push the door open, it has some extra give to it.
Uh-huh.
But when the ADA door is currently working, it's really hard to push.
Yeah, you're fucking
So I'll wait
passive
for them to.
aggressive.
Hopefully they'll go for that door, and I'll hit the button right before they get there, so it activates the door. They're just like,
and they have their hands full. And
Yeah, I love it.
Gosh, I need to see a security video compilation of you just like trying to hand people receipts and then hitting the button.
Yeah,
Over the years.
Shaking your head one more time.
Just like doing this and throwing the receipt.
Yeah, but you all have that look you turn to your coworker and you just like slightly widen your eyes without changing the expression on your face, and your coworker's like, I know what that look means. Sorry.
That's a universal look.
Yeah.
It is.
You know, that goes to every job, whether you're customer service or not. So I also learned from Taco Bell after I left Taco Bell. I went to go work for the airport, and I worked for kind of like their version of Taco Bell. When I worked at
Like you
Taco
do.
Bell, people would just like, you know,
Was it
eat,
called
kind of eat off the line,
Is it
you know.
called Sea
Yeah.
Taco Bell?
Bit of a stretch, but I'll give it to you.
yeah, a bit of a stretch, but pretty much. Same sort of like add water to make the beans and, you know, dehydrate the meat
Yeah, yeah.
kind of a place. But in the airport, like, you know,
Neat.
on your way to a flight, I always thought to myself, who would eat this and then get on a flight? That would
No.
just be, that's such a bad idea. But people are daring.
Yeah.
You know, and I appreciate that about them. Like, so I was working there like my very first day on the job, and at Taco Bell, people would just like, you know, for better or worse, they would just grab something to eat for
Yeah.
lunch. You know, it's like you barely ever got lunch anyway. It was so ridiculous. Like,
Yeah,
like
grab
the child labor laws were crazy there. It was like I was 14. I was like working way over 20 hours a week.
Huh.
You know, like, but so you just grab something, and so I didn't even think to ask at this other place. Like
Yeah,
I just.
you just always was.
Yeah, I went to go to lunch and I like made myself. It was not even a good burrito. Like even the worst thing is I was like just some beans and cheese and a tortilla and like went to go eat it in the staff cafeteria. And one of my coworkers actually busted me out. It was good to know because I was glad I wasn't going to get like straight up fired. But I come back and the manager's like, Wendy, can I talk to you for a second? And I had no idea. I thought that I'd like shit the bed really bad.
Petrified, yeah.
Somehow, like I didn't really know what to think. And she takes me into the back and she was like, did you pay for that burrito?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wait, like the one I had for lunch? And she said, yeah. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't think that I was like, I didn't even think to ask.
Didn't
And she
think
was
to
like,
ask.
well, we have you on camera. I mean, it was like fucking
You're like-
serious business. It
You're
was
like, yeah, I'm
serious,
not denying
I just
doing
told you
it.
I did it.
serious,
I'm happy for you, but
serious burrito business.
Evidently.
That was like she was all about like that burrito. It was like a guilt burrito. Like after that, I felt
And you
so
know
guilty.
she was just watching the video over and over again while you're eating lunch, like, this bitch, you're all that,
Yeah.
whatever you want in this world.
Think you can get a side of guacamole on
Yeah.
my watch, motherfucker?
yeah, totally. Make my costs skyrocket. I can fire your ass.
That cost me a whole 30 cents.
Can you like tuna fish? So so I had to learn that lesson really fast. But then I ended up leaving that job too,
Yeah.
and
I mean-
have worked many places since.
it's just one of those depressing things about like certain food service things. Like, okay, well, I'm working here for a pittance of a wage, making a bunch of money for the company, and I can't eat a burrito.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
No, go
so-
fuck yourself.
Oh man. So from there, I went to a couple of like just sort of non-starter, telemarketing gigs, which taught me that you can have multiple fucking jobs and do nothing during them. Like I would play like Game Boy back then, Game Boy, and and draw. Like I had my whole art pad out and would be
nice.
drawing and like trying to sell people in fucking DuPont siding, and it was called like DuPont siding, but they weren't in DuPont, and so it was like people would answer the phone and
DuPont
and
you later.
Yeah. I'm all hello. My name is so and so, and I'm working. We would like to talk to you about DuPont siding, and they're all DuPont.
The hell are you
DuPont.
talking about?
I work there. Who is this? What's your reasoning for calling? That was the only thing that we were really confronted with. But
When you called people that actually worked for
worked for
DuPont
DuPont, yeah, for DuPont siding, because it was just it was like back then you just like got phone books, like
big
they just
call
gave you
sheet,
gave you a big phone book, and we would just cold call,
Yeah.
And I guess today I learned that it's not DuPont, it's DuPont.
It's DuPont,
DuPont.
DuPont.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's only when you go into the Walmart museum.
Yeah, DuPont. It's DuPont only to some people though. But so I did a bunch of those kinds of gigs with my really good friend Nikki, who is unfortunately no longer with us. But she was wild, and so we lived in these apartments together, constantly living together, constantly like having these jobs that we didn't care about.
Just working shitty jobs, palling around.
Yeah, working shitty jobs, staying up all night. We spent a lot of time in the adult video store that used to be open 24 hours off of Pack Highway.
In White Center?
No. No, although my husband used to work for Taboo, if that's the one you were talking about.
I drove past it the other day, and I don't think I ever noticed its existence before.
It's a establishment.
Yeah, it's been there. It's been there forever.
It's fun to go check out. I'll go down there with you if you ever want to try it out.
Good.
I feel like it has a good location. I mean, it's been there forever. People trust it. Like they trust the Taboo brand.
Sure.
And
there's some viewing screens in the back.
Yeah.
I did when I was sorry.
No.
This just reminded me because sometimes I drink too much and then I forget about things and then stuff like this will trigger my memory. Sure. But I was walking around Temple Bar, Dublin, and Temple Bar is actually a bunch of different bars in an alleyway, like old school bricks, all that fun stuff. In Dublin, downtown Dublin.
Okay.
And I was walking around and I was just marking off places at like 2:00 in the morning of where I wanted to go the next day and just putting them in my phone. And so I was outside the Rock and Roll History Museum, and then there was this like little place, and it looked like a bar, and it had like cool lights on it, and none of the other buildings had cool lights on it. I'm like, oh, that must be like some hip club. I'm gonna go into there, and I opened the door, and it's just fluorescent white lights, and then a bunch of clear glass cases of sex toys, and then this guy in the corner, like with his boots up, just puts down the paper and goes, "You didn't mean to come in here, did you?" And I just went, because I was just
fucking
wasted.
wanker.
Yeah.
And this has been Alcohol Flashbacks with Dallas.
And then I left.
Sounds like a fun podcast. I'd listen to it.
God. I would have to record them throughout the week as I remember.
Yeah. The mobile podcast.
Oh, yeah.
It'd have to be mobile.
Did you say you were in Dublin when this happened?
Yeah, it was
what Dallas did in Dublin. The side cast.
Dallas
the side
does
cast.
Dublin.
Yeah.
There it is.
Okay. So I used to be on the phone for 6 hours a day, and I was an account manager, and I had 3 accounts in Texas, and all of the primary contacts' name and those different 3 accounts were Debbie. And so when Debbie would call, be, "Hey, thanks for calling Zonar. This is Dallas. How can I help you?" Because I have no idea who it is. We don't have caller ID. Even if I've talked to him 20 times. And she's like, "Hey, it's Debbie." And for a while I went, "Hey, Debbie, it's Dallas." But eventually...
You remember?
Eventually I got to, "Hey, Debbie, this is Zonar, and I'm customer Hi, it's Dallas." Just like try and put as many nonsense words in, or pretend to get distracted and then come back.
So you should have gone the opposite way. You should just, "Hey, it's the big D."
Yeah, you should have just far end of the spectrum and just really made it way bigger.
And I had to go full commit, and so I eventually bought it on DVD. Horrible. I couldn't get through.
Porno from the 70s.
Yes, and for
the music.
that listener who doesn't know what we're talking about, there is a classic porno film from the 70s called Debbie Does Dallas.
It was
Very classic.
It was in actual theaters, like Deep Throat.
Yeah.
It was too.
Yeah, it's super popular. That's how we all know
But
it.
there's
Debbie
no
Does Dallas.
fade in, fade out, or like scene transition. It just, we're talking. I'm talking to you. We're talking. And like their mouth is still moving, but you can't hear them because they can only have one audio track at a time. Apparently, who knows?
No, retro porn is only good for the funny music and the full bush. That's about all it's good for.
Yeah.
And the bad stories.
Yeah.
The bad storylines.
that's true too.
You know?
Jacob found porn, vintage porn, but like on a DVD collector set at Value Village.
Yes.
And it was horrifying.
Jesus.
The Winona Ryder compilation was even more horrifying
Yes.
because the ending was her from Beetlejuice and not from that other movie, 8 movies she's in, where she's not underage.
Right.
Oh yeah, Jesus Christ.
Anyway.
Oh man. Now
Back to Wendy.
No. All I can think of is Winona. That's all I can think of right now. Now I can't even remember.
You're talking about working at a...
With your best friend, Nikki.
Yeah.
With my best friend Nikki. So, and so her and I made a lot of mistakes. And usually when I get to know people, they'll hear stories about the places that me and Nikki have worked together. Taco Bell was one of them. Like, that's how long the friendship has been, you know. And we just pretty much did anything that we possibly could do to make money. And we had no idea what we were doing. We had no qualms or reserve about it. And so we
just having fun.
Oh yeah, just having fun. So we very quickly found ourselves involved in sex work. Very fast.
Like you do.
Like you do. Yeah. And locally. Because you do.
Hey.
You know, so why leave Burien when you can just do sex work in Burien?
Might as well service people at home.
Yeah.
And on 110th Street just came into my head.
Yeah. No. This was kind of a class act escort place in South Park out of a girl's home, and of course because we wanted to go like the full mile, like we did that first. So it was like escorting first, phone sex later. We transitioned from like escorting to then phone sex later on. You know,
at the very least, you know, going from like starting off in escorting, it's I would think a bit safer than like on the street.
Yeah,
sex work.
Just hooking. You know?
It
Two
can
completely
be
different things, I think.
Yeah.
Well, there's lots of different terms for it, you know, but we were like in-house in-call girls is what they would call us, because we worked out of a spot, out of a place.
Okay, so people would come to...
Yeah, the Johns would come to us, and and a lot of mistakes were made because some people really do just want to pay you $75 for an upper body massage only, not the full body massage for $125, which is very relaxing.
Good
But
to know.
the 75,
Why'd you look directly at me when you said that?
because you look like you just got paid.
Jokes on you. I'm broke.
I could tell from the beer. But
Wendy, everybody.
zing.
I just love how she comes in and reads you for filth. It's
He's all, why are you looking at me? I'm like, there's
Calls
just
him like I
kind
see
of a
him.
bright light around you right now. Things are happening in the corner.
I choose
Ding,
to
ding,
take
ding,
that
ding.
as a compliment.
Yeah. Good choice. But yeah, so there I learned that, the mistakes can be made. And you could be giving somebody an upper body massage and go to try to hook them in for the handy, for the 125, and then of course, you know, prices can go higher depending on how playful you want to be, that type of a thing, you know.
I see.
So you try to hook them in for something like that, and they would just be like confused. You'd see that look go over their face.
what I ordered off the menu.
Yeah. And then of course asking for more pressure. Like, you know, that never happened to me, but I have a dear friend, I won't mention his name, who just came to visit me from out of state. And it actually happened to him. Like he went to just go get like a deep
place.
tissue massage.
Oh my gosh.
And
Vetting people.
and I'm sure he wanted to tell me the story because I've told him stories about, you know, working in the like massage parlor.
He knew you
and
could relate.
yeah, and so he was like, so I went to this place and I just wanted them. They kept asking me, so what kind of massage do you want? And he kept saying, well, what kind do you give? And they were like, what do you want? And he's like, Swedish, deep tissue, shiatsu. And then the music would turn down and they would lean close to him and go, so what kind of massage do you want?
What we established.
And he was like, deep tissue, Swedish, shiatsu. So, needless to say, he paid like $75 for a upper body massage that was not very relaxing. Like, I guess she didn't really get, like, you know, there was no pressure. She was not a professional. Yeah. He said she was just kind of like doing this, like I'm slapping my legs, you know, like limply slapping my legs. But
thank God he didn't ask for a hot stone massage or something.
who knows where those stones would have gone.
Hey. Well, I mean, it's interesting. You got thrown into the deep throat end of sex work.
Yeah. And we threw ourselves in. It's not like we got roped in by somebody else. It was like Nikki actively was like...
You
she was
chose,
like,
you wanted to try it out.
Yeah, she answered a fucking ad. And she was 1,000 times cooler than I was. So she like answered an ad. She like looked for sex work in the paper. Because we were just like constantly like, we can do this, you know? Fuck it.
How hard could it
we're
be?
doing it. We're doing it for free anyway. Was kind of the take that we were on. Was like,
I had
we're
that
single
thought in college.
Yeah, we're single. We're doing it for free anyway. Like I said, so many lessons learned. Like I was really naive. I totally thought that I was like really experienced, and and I wasn't. Like you think especially like in your late teens, early 20s.
Yeah.
And so I remember Nikki got hired on first, and then she got me hired on, and I remember telling the madam with like sincerity, I was like, I'll make you a lot of money. Just like fucking super like...
I appreciate the confidence.
Just like super confident. I had no fucking idea what I was doing. And like had to learn it from customers. I remember...
On the job training.
On the job training, yeah. Yeah. But something that I didn't learn from customers that I learned from the madam was always, keep bail money someplace where somebody can get it.
Sure.
And although nothing like that ever happened to me. It did happen
good
to
plan
her.
Ahead.
And, yeah, it is good to plan ahead. It did happen to her and Nikki, and she also paid somebody she paid them like kind of a pittance, but she gave them free rent to live in the dungeon downstairs. And then she worked them too. Like
is
they
the
were
dungeon also on Airbnb?
The house is still there in South Park. So I don't. Yeah,
I'm sure I drive by it every day.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. So the house is still there, and I don't know if she still owns it. It was weird. She ended up renting it to just a completely disconnected friend of mine. Years later, she ends up renting like the dungeon to them, and like by that time though, she had taken like the
stocks off the wall.
Well, yeah. And she had like
the
full on
gone.
I'm 20 and I walk down there and it's like she's got this fucking chair bolted to the floor and there's like the shithole cut out of it, and that just blew my mind. Like where I was like, who the fuck am I working for right now? Am I gonna die?
Did I just
like am I gonna fucking die? And she was just like this little sort of wisp of a woman, and not like when she got into character, she was like very sexy lady.
She's a professional.
Yeah, but otherwise she was like kind of plain, and just really business savvy. So so she was a madam. Like we used to have people come over like for free and just do stuff like clean the house for us, and we just like work people,
That sounds like very nice community-based, not brothel technically, but
kind of, yeah. Like depending on
like
what,
that.
yeah. I mean, she was like a super fucking nice lady. It's weird that I feel like I even have to say that because it's like, who
Sure.
cares, But she was a super nice lady. She was very fair to me and Nikki, especially me, because I like Nikki was way more experienced than I was anyway. But like I was kind of a bumbling idiot, like I was just like. What is it? Yeah, like just like
around, and then you do this.
Yeah. No, pretty much like
Like
and
a
I was
bottle
just
of
like,
ketchup.
yeah, I was just like, no, I don't really know what I'm doing, like all water weenie hands, So
You're trying to make the urethra talk, like,
yeah.
Oh God!
I was like, psst, psst, like a balloon.
let me sing your song.
But you learn really fast, like you do on jobs. So
Sure.
you learn really quick. And
That's the best way to do it.
yeah, when I was super young, I'm like saying things like, shove your balls down so that I can kick them harder, So we learn about that. I had very pointy shoes for one specific client, and after a while, it just got old.
It's a job like anything else.
Kind of like working for Taco Bell. It was like if somebody wanted me to put my Taco Bell uniform on after work and make them a fucking burrito, So,
Yeah, no, I get that.
So I just became disinterested in it like pretty fast. And from there moved on to the Odyssey, which used to be a standard of Burien.
yeah, it's the head shop.
The head shop,
I was
yeah.
gonna say you have to fill me in. I don't know what the Odyssey is.
May or may not have been in there.
I went in there all the time.
Yeah.
Later.
The Odyssey was just like the weed and tobacco. There were no tobacco products in there,
Yeah,
but
this
the
is
weed and
before it was
tobacco
legal in
store.
the
Yeah.
state. It was the head shop.
I still say water pipe because I'm so trained by them
Oh,
to
yeah.
say it because it was so illegal to say bong. You know.
Yes.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
funny
for
how,
tobacco
like,
use only.
You can. That all fascinates me. Like, you can sell all of this, all these bongs, pipes, whatever you want,
Yeah, all
like
the
little
accessories.
cocaine spoons, everything. As long as you just call it something else.
Yeah, we straight up
Totally
sold
cool.
Vitamixer,
90s.
like the Vitamix stuff that
Yeah.
that you fucking cut your cocaine with.
Oh, yeah.
we would sell it
Love
in these huge containers.
What was it for?
It was
Air quotes.
Oh God, it's funny because I can't even really remember. I'll have to.
Yeah.
I'll have
I'm
to
sure there was
someday.
something-
Yeah.
some
Oh no,
excuse.
there was some side name for it. Like people use it almost to clean out their system, or if they're working out, some build muscle powder or something. But really, what it was. I mean, we all knew what it was for.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Cocaine.
I just bought a
I do
grinder and it
cocaine.
was labeled as spice grinder. And it had a little
Like
instructional
skill?
manual. Yeah.
So
that was like,
funny.
you can put dried spices in here.
I mean, smoking that.
Oh man. But so a lot like I'll just keep referencing Taco Bell because I didn't know what I was doing when I first got hired there too. I was also still like my naivety was at such a high level, even though I'd like done sex work and like had these relationships with multiple people and thought I was really experienced. I didn't smoke weed and I rarely drank. Like I actually started my kind of drinking at the Odyssey.
Makes sense.
Everyone
Next to
everyone who works there
Elmer's.
should. Yeah, yeah, right.
It's no longer there. It has since gone away.
Oh yeah,
Just
it's
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was Wonderland, I think, for a little bit, and
Oh, I actually went to it while it was called Wonderland. I think that's what. Yeah.
they used to have that whole building. So that whole building used to be the Odyssey. Like they used to get enough business. So that's kind of like,
What happened to them?
like that's what happens to the war on drugs, right? Like when
Yeah,
you
yeah.
legalize something, that's what happens is like suddenly all the edge, like the fringe,
Periphery.
yeah, it shuts down, which I'm sure that the owners at the time did not like because they
sure,
had been in
yeah.
the business for so long. But they were probably fucking tired of it too. I imagine. Like I haven't had that actual conversation with them, but I'm sure now they were so glad to get out of it.
Yeah.
Just like
People who
the people
The
who
last people to own it?
yeah the people that were my managers and
Yes.
then became the owners of Wonderland. I'm sure they were like
that's
they'd
I've
been there
talked to
so
them
long.
myself, and they were like, I was like, are you sad that you're kind of shut down the business down? And they're like, no, not really. We're so fucking done with it. Like,
Man, it's crazy.
I'm sure it's stressful.
yeah.
Oh, it is because you're dealing with. It's just like it's weird to say, but it's like you're dealing with the same people that you would deal with at like the hospital or the DMV.
Yeah.
It's like they come in and they're just fucked up and angry. It's like they're
Yeah.
coming in, they want to buy something, or you're dealing with like childish 18-year-old dudes that want to buy like bongs that are like this high,
Of
that
course.
don't make any sense, and have to have like 3 people to light it, and they're gonna pass out before they even get into smoke.
They're not even, it's not even to get into their car. They're going to drop it in the parking lot.
Yeah, but I mean so my bosses there had to teach me everything. I didn't know anything about smoking weed. I didn't know, and I was actually this is the other part. I started dating, like somebody who sold weed pretty quickly after that.
Sure.
And learned really fast from him too. But yeah, like I learned how to, like, great skills, like how to count back change. I think I told you that. Like I learned how to count back change, and to this day I can still count back change because that old ass business never had an electronic cash register. Even up until, I'm pretty sure, until they closed, everything was on a handwritten.
Ledger.
Yeah. So
They had a cash register, but it was like a super old-timey cash register with a little window with the little
that's-
physical
Yeah.
things
Oh, that's
that
kinda cool.
pop up.
and you would just open it yourself.
Yeah.
Like it was just like you wouldn't like, it had buttons, but you never used them. Like
Yeah.
you would just start memorizing the tax and
Type-
writing the tax in.
Type
know,
of thing
so.
you see in an antique shop for like $500 that some asshole's going to pay for.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I learned that. I learned like people's.
Sorry, buddy.
No, it's okay. I learned like that people, like people's favorite things to smoke crack out of. You know,
Like
and
what?
it was
Please inform.
well, a crackhead will use anything,
Oh,
but
no.
so they'll use like the antenna off a car, which
Yeah.
those aren't as common anymore. So
We
like
heard
whatever.
that, for the first time, was that last week or 2 weeks ago? Somebody told us that.
Oh man, anything like a broken light bulb. Like if you
Who was that?
like people that smoke crack are some
those are
fucking
fun.
inventive motherfuckers, man. Like
Yeah.
like
Well-
anything that will catch the crack
Mhm.
and that will heat up fast.
Well, yeah,
like
so-
they will use.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
mean,
like
if you
anything.
think about it, it's just
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Well, did you guys sell the little vials with the plastic rose in it?
Didn't even have the plastic rose.
Ah.
Didn't even try to
Didn't
mask
even try to
itself.
mask it.
Didn't
All
even
right.
try to mask itself as like, you know, as fake. It was just like glass stems and like different sizes because people like to smoke their meth and crack out of like they had their favorite size.
Well, you got to differentiate. I
yeah,
get it.
yeah. Some people like the long ones. Some people like the short ones. And I still remember the like the shortest one that you could get with tax at the time. The Washington State tax was $3.26. Like I still remember the like because
Wow.
that was the most popular item at the time that I was
Yeah.
working there.
wow.
But yeah, I mean, I learned great business stuff from them.
Like if your clientele are mostly crackheads, maybe you should offer them crack pipes.
Yeah, I mean, we called it. I mean, you know, like, and we do love you all, crackheads, because you were kind of the bread and butter for a long time. So you know, don't go changing. But we called it freaky glass. And none of us really liked selling it because the people that would come in were super, like you could tell that they were super fucking awesome people at one point. Like
Yeah.
they would
Yeah.
come in working,
Yeah.
dealing like glassware to crackheads was so much nicer than having to deal with an 18-year-old who had just turned 18 that wanted to come in and buy the most expensive bong that there was.
Yeah,
And was
some
probably
rich
going to
kid
steal it.
from Normandy Park comes in to buy a bong, and you know they're tired of smoking out of pen pipes and apples, but you know I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, of course not.
Just know of some rich kids from Normandy Park that may or may not have done that.
No, the people who owned it are super cool, and I like at one point actually I was like, so I'm having this problem with my water pipe, and she's like, clean it real well, bring it in. I was like, which is like not done.
Yeah.
No.
Bring in a piece from home. She's like, yeah, bring it in. So I
Yeah.
brought it in. She's like, put grommets on it. Like, she's like, there you go. I'm
Easy
like,
peasy.
thanks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Thanks,
like,
ma'am.
I mean, she was so. If we're talking about the same lady, like, she's so awesome.
Yeah,
and
I like her a lot.
yeah, she taught me everything about like they would have me like put together pipes, like because we made a bunch of our pipes,
Yeah.
like all the steel and brass ones. We would make them by hand during downtime. So we'd have
Like
to do
hookah
that.
styles or different types?
Well, actually, I don't. To be frank, I don't know if we called them that. It was like just several joints with like one bowl and then
okay.
and then
like
a lid.
kind of like a small metal spoon.
Yeah.
It's something a little simpler.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And there were like you could get different couplers or couplings and connectors for them to like make
Mix
them
and
extra.
match. Make
yeah.
your own.
Make your own. Buy several. Make your own. But I worked for them. I think for a couple of years, and it was funny because there was no reason that I actually left. I think I just got burnt out. You know, where I was just like,
Need something new.
yeah, the job was sweet, but it was like from noon to 9, and I think I wanted to make more money. And after a while, it's like, you know, you just start seeing the same people over and over again. And at first, they're just smoking weed and maybe doing like a little blow.
You know.
But then later on, like fast forward 2 years, and they're just like fucking like they come in like missing teeth, and it's
Yeah.
just like
that's
just all the
sad.
meth,
It
you
is
know.
really sad.
And
Yeah.
after a while, you just go like, nope, like I'm done.
done.
I'm done
Yeah.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can totally understand that.
Yep.
Yeah.
But my boyfriend at the time, he pulled up to the Odyssey, and I couldn't believe he did this. Now that I know him better as a human being, I get it. Like
Makes all the sense in
it
the
makes all the sense in the world. Which, you know, if you hear this, you know who you are, and I still think you're a nice dude. Like, he drove up to pick me up one night, and he had weed in his car. And the Odyssey, as you guys know, is like right next to the Burien police station. And people used to get pulled over in our parking lot all the time. The police sometimes would just wait
I was
for
gonna say, I'm
people
sure
to
they
like,
fucking staked it out.
yeah, to like leave. To just leave, and then they'd pull them over, and then they would confiscate their stuff. It didn't happen very often, but it would,
Yeah.
you know.
Back then, if you had like a crack pipe but no crack, and it's obviously a crap bike. Do they just take it from you, or do they give you a ticket?
They would still give you a ticket because it's
they just give you-
paraphernalia. They'd give you a ticket. I think it was I don't know. I don't want to
But you
exaggerate
ain't
because I
going to
can't
jail
really remember.
for 10 years for
misdemeanor,
coke or whatever.
It really
but-
depends. I
really?
think
Okay.
really. I mean, back then, I feel like it's hard to remember, but I feel like the cops were kind of like they would probably like cops now. They just wanted to use it sort of as an excuse, you know. So it's like if you didn't look like you were necessarily problematic, they might just let you go. But if you looked like there might be something else in the car, then they would like stop you.
No,
you know?
they're letting the clean cut kids from Normandy Park go.
Go.
And, Crackhead
Yeah.
Dave doesn't have
Yeah,
the same.
Crackhead Dave doesn't have a chance.
Dave?
Yeah, Crackhead.
Is he still
Crackhead
around?
Dave, if you're
it's been a
listening.
while.
He's very dead.
He's,
Yeah.
He
Aw.
got replaced by Segway guy.
I haven't seen Segway
Vocal
Guy.
Burian icon. You haven't seen him recently?
Not recently.
I saw him a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I saw him like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
He
You
lives
need
in
to
my
keep
neighborhood.
tabs on him. Make sure
Yeah.
he's still doing okay.
For those of you not in the area,
Is it Segway guy?
Yeah.
yeah, for listeners in like say I don't know France.
Looking at you, France.
there is a guy who lives in town who rides a Segway everywhere. I've never the only time I've seen him with his feet on the ground, he is standing next to his Segway, like smoking a cigarette or something. But he's always on the Segway in stores, like in grocery stores. He rides the Segway
Onto
through
the
the
bus.
stores onto the bus. The other thing that's important to note is that the Segway is fashioned as if it is a Ferrari.
It
It is bright red and has the Ferrari logo on the front. Also, the guy is a huge asshole.
Yeah, he's a huge dick. How did he get the Segway, Alex?
I do not
Oh,
know.
you don't know? He won the lottery, dude.
Oh,
Wait,
that
really?
makes sense.
Well, he didn't win like the Mega Millions thing.
Yeah, but he won
obviously.
enough.
Was he like, I'm
won
winning
a-
the lottery, I never want to fucking walk
He
again?
won a big, yeah, I guess. He
Good for
won a
him.
scratch ticket or something in like 2000 and what was it? 10.
Something.
A long time ago. And he was on the news and stuff. I bet I could find the clip.
I'm
Oh
sure
my
if
god, you should
Google.
attach that clip
Because
to
when I
the
used
episode.
to maybe or maybe not drive around Burien and visit this store we may or may not have been talking about when I was a teenager, I would see him and I'm like, dude, Segways are cool, man. Like, man, where'd you get that Segway?
It's like he's like, fuck off.
no.
Cracked
But
an egg
he-
on my head and left.
Yeah. There used to be a Segway guy watch, and it wasn't a Facebook
It was a
group.
It's a
Facebook
Facebook
group,
group.
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it still exists.
It
I
certainly
bet he
does.
hates it because he's a surly little fucking piece of shit. Anyway,
Are you able to attach things like to the podcast online, like attach
Oh,
like
yeah.
websites and stuff?
oh yeah, anything.
Neat.
Yeah, we can link to stuff.
Yeah, neat. I don't even know if it would be right to link to it, but I looked it up. I looked it up today, and the phone sex place that I used to work for in Olympia is still open.
Oh, we're totally linking.
Yeah,
that.
it's still open,
Interesting.
and
Wait, let's call it on air. Skype.
oh, we can. No, I mean, we totally could.
Can I
The
have that instead?
I have to tell you guys, like, no matter the things that I've done, you would think that like hand jobs for money was like good money, and it was okay money. Like it was okay.
Yeah.
I was too
I
much
give
of a
myself
scaredy
hand
cat.
jobs all the time. I'm not
Right?
any richer.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I mean, well, and I was too much of a scaredy cat to be like a full service girl at the time. Like I said, my friend was just like, she was a fucking rock star. She had zero shame, just like practically, I don't know. She was like a beam of light, you know.
Yeah,
she did
just
not
going
give
for
a
it.
fuck about anything, and then she cared about everybody, you know. But she was fucking wild, man. I mean, there was nothing that this girl wouldn't do, and when we went, she actually moved to Olympia, which is what she, like, I always followed her job wise. Like she would go someplace, do something, and she'd be like, "Oh man, it's super easy. You should come. Like misery loves company. Like come work for the phone sex place." And at this place, I hope it's okay. I'm just going to go ahead and say it.
Yeah.
Yourdesires.com.
Try it out.
Yeah, try it out. Try out
We
the
are
girls.
not,
No,
we are not endorsed.
No,
or
I'm
endorsing yourdesires.com.
yeah.
This is not paid advertisement.
Yeah,
Let
we're
us
not.
know. So
yeah.
what'd you learn at Gmail?
Yeah, right. We're not endorsing it, but I will tell you, if it's the same owners, like I'm sure that the girls do a fucking fantastic job because the owners previously, if it is the same people, it looks like the same website. So I feel like it's got to be the same people. I can't believe they're still open, which just goes to show there's still a market.
Yeah.
Like there's still a shame market for it.
no,
And I was a little surprised.
People,
You know?
people like getting weird with strangers.
Yeah. Oh man, and I can
think-
tell you some things.
I think the only reason why certain video rental stores pornography shacks
about the experience,
still
man.
exist is not necessarily because that a lot of people still purchase physical media when it comes to pornography, but because they have screening rooms and booths.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the driver of the population using it, because people still like cruising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though you don't technically have to anymore.
Chase is better
it's
than
enough
catch,
of the
dude.
part of this culture of sex culture that it's never going to go away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. There's only one porno theater left in Los Angeles. It's called the Tiki Theater.
Yeah, dude, Tiki.
Freak at the peak. Profiles in Electricity, great episode about it. But yeah,
God, it sounds scary though.
it certainly does, and it's just
I'm
this
scared.
blacked out theater in the back of a porno shop, and
Yeah.
I don't know, it's got like I think 15 seats or so, and they're just constantly playing movies, and you just kind of go out in there. It's big gay cruising spot.
But
Yeah.
a lot of the people in there are homeless and just want to go to sleep.
Also, that
That's true.
Yeah, you pay like $15 and you get 3 hours there, I think.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of homeless people in LA will just do that because it's out of the sun and inside.
Yeah, $30 gets me
And-
a night or a sleep during the day.
And,
Yeah.
and you might get a
7 hours.
handy, so
Yeah.
it all works
Oh,
out.
hey,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, if you're into that, then
And-
win-win.
An
Try it
interested handy,
Yeah. What?
your
Yeah.
AC and a hand job.
Where do I sign
They
up?
also don't they have 2 screens though?
They
So-
also have like another TV playing a
just in
different
case
porno,
you're not into
Yeah.
the main feature.
but
you
there's
can
no
just-
sound on that one.
There was another podcast I listened to where they were talking about a porno theater. It's actually the podcast Understood, which is about things you can't normally find answers to on the internet.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
they did one. The episode was called "Little Theater Goes Dark," and it's about the last porno theater in I don't remember the city, but
Probably New York. They used to have a lot of them.
it wasn't New York. It was somewhere I think on the West Coast. But
Okay.
how it just kind of like they were shutting the theater down, and there was like their last showing, and it just like stopped in the middle of the thing, and just like
It was just over.
it was just over. And
Huh.
it was just an interesting episode talking about kind of the death of like the quote unquote old city,
Yeah.
wherever
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is they were.
No, it's that same people that identify with kind of why I said New York, because New York in the 70s used to be like Taxi Driver and, porno theaters in Times Square. And
Right.
people
Yeah.
still pine for that,
Or even Seattle used to be much more interesting than it is now.
That's
Yeah.
true, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get that kind of stuff because if I spend all day at home, no matter how good of a time I have, I'm gonna forget what I did. But if I if I go out to a movie,
If I go out to a porn theater, I'm gonna
or
fucking
a porn
remember what.
theater, I'm gonna fucking remember that
Good point.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
Is there anybody here that remembers the porn theater that used to just be down the street in Des Moines?
Yeah.
Was
in
that a
Des Moines,
porn
the-
theater?
Yeah,
Um,
that was originally like a skin.
Oh, it was originally a
Yeah,
porn
it was
theater.
like
I've
a
seen
skin.
a reel. I've seen a
The building's still there.
A wide release film there before they shut the theater down.
I went there when
If
I
we're
was
talking
a
about the
kid
same
with
thing.
my
It is the same
parents.
theater.
Okay.
Before it was somebody else bought it, and then they tried to like do like a theater revival right there. But before that, it was like legit the dirty
Porno theater.
porn theater.
That's
Yeah.
so horrifying because when I was like, I don't know, 8th or 9th grade, I went and saw Inglourious Bastards there, and we sat in the back row, and oh god,
I'm sure the seats.
They had changed
I'm
the
sure the
seats.
seats were
Maybe,
new.
hopefully.
I saw War of the Worlds there
Or
with
maybe they
Tom
weren't.
Cruise.
Ugh.
That movie's not as bad as the noise.
I really wish it would open back up. Like I could practically walk there.
Like you could do art house theater around here nowadays.
Yeah, look at the Tin Room.
Yeah. Or look at there's the SIF up in Queen Anne. It's like this. It's so frustrating because it's so difficult to get to. Like there's so many good
Queen
art
Anne's a
house
bitch.
theaters up north.
Yeah,
that they're just like,
and
I
well,
wanna get there.
Beacon Sea just opened. Beacon Seattle, very small. It's like the
On Beacon
Egyptian.
Hill?
Yeah.
It's right by the light rail station.
Yeah, it's really close to the light rail station. It's on like the backside of Beacon Hill. It's right off of Rainier.
Was it you and I who were talking about this?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, but I'm going to see a movie that I can't remember the fucking name of it tomorrow with my friend Tristan.
Ooh,
There.
nice.
But yeah, it's like they do re-release and oh no, it was us talking about it because I think I sent you a link to the to the war movie I saw there. I was like, man, I watched a like 4-hour long
The Cranes Are Flying.
Yeah, the Cranes
It's
Are
a
Flying.
Soviet film about World War II.
Yeah, I'm like, I watched a 4-hour fucking amazing film there. But yeah, it's small. They serve alcohol.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know. It's a cute little spot that's not super far away.
Yeah, I mean, if that Des Moines theater had just took the lobby, put a bar in it, and then kept everything else the same as it was when I was a kid, I'd go there all the fucking time.
Yeah,
Right.
Well,
I think there is
be the change
a
you wanna
market
see,
for it.
Dallas.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Invest in a movie bar.
He was bankrupt in 2 months.
Yeah. Sounds like a great plan.
That venue, I don't know if you guys have ever driven by there, but that it has to be so expensive. Like, just because you can see the water from there, and it's such a huge old building.
But while it's empty, you just kind of go like, "What's happening?"
What a waste.
You know, like
who's paying for it?
Yeah.
It just exists.
I wonder if it's just not up to code. I wonder if it's like
I'm sure
there's
it's
so much
not.
shit that's
I
wrong
didn't
with
even
it
think
that
about
they're
that, yeah.
now they're just kind of like they're in a weird spin out. You know,
There's a building in town that's currently being used by the city that houses a lot of nonprofits. It's kind of this local kerfuffle at the moment because they're basically forcing everyone out of the building. And some of the tenants are fighting it and wanting to like stay there longer and all these other things. But what I think escapes a lot of people is that the building was built in 1947. So they're like, well, okay, why don't we just retrofit the building, like fix the problems that are here and we can all stay. It's like, well, okay, you need to fix the electrical. You need to fix the plumbing because there's lead. You need to remove the asbestos.
Yeah.
You need to
It's very
fix
expensive.
the boiler. You need to repair the HVAC system. You need to repair the fire panel that alerts the fire department if there's an emergency.
So you literally, it's a fucking teardown.
just a money
So
pit.
if you took
yeah.
basically if you took the building down to the studs, it still wouldn't pass earthquake certification. So it's like
You'd
raise
have to
the
create a
building.
new
You have to
foundation.
just
Yeah.
start new.
tear it down, start over.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been Virion Seattle Corner. But real quick,
Yeah.
there was another thing that you did
Oh,
later, which also
yeah.
I find super interesting. I wanted to touch
Is
on it.
this working at the funeral home?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Ooh, dig it.
So I moved. I want to say that you gentlemen know this. I feel like we've kind of talked about it before. I think
That we're all
especially
gonna
you.
die
I'm not
one
sure.
day?
Like the one time we've all been together. I moved to LA like many years ago and fucking loved it. I don't care what anybody says about Southern California. I loved it. It was like the best thing that could have happened to me in my life. It was so amazing, so much fun. And then, you know, because it was so fucking awesome, I had to turn around and move back. So like
you do.
10 years later, you know, we decided we're going to move back to like help family out and come back to the Pacific Northwest. And at the time, I had just finished art school in Pasadena and I was working for the Seattle Art Museum. And they were about to reopen. Sam had closed. They were remodeling and they hired all of us contract workers to like reframe and like fit the pieces onto the wall and make sure that everything was like, you know, for lack of a better word, like retrofit for earthquakes.
There you go.
And so they had all the staff, like tons of staff. They had tons of money because fucking WAMU was in the building too that they owned.
Right.
And WAMU was like renting the other side. So they were getting tons of money from them.
A bank, Washington Mutual.
Yeah, they literally went bankrupt right after Sam's reopening.
Perfect.
Like it was fucking crazy. But so right after Sam opens, the opening didn't go. I mean, they made great money for the arts, but it just didn't go the way they thought it was going to. And then WAMU closed like horrifically fast, and they had to lay a bunch of people off. And so I went from doing like contract work with them to like, oh shit, I don't have insurance. And like it was like we had just moved back up here. I didn't really have a lot going on. My boyfriend at the time was, had like, you know, things weren't as cool at the time as they are now, where it's like, you know, you could get hired and have neck tattoos, you know. So he was really struggling trying to find work. He'd been a body piercer here and went and worked for Gamefly down there in LA. And then when we moved back up here, he didn't want to do body piercing work anymore. It's like the fucking worst job that you can have.
Yeah, that sounds
a horrible like clientele that won't take care of their piercings.
I've
and
heard some stories.
yeah. So he had like a hard time finding work, and I wasn't making very much money. So I called up one of my friends who I had worked many jobs with. He was like somebody that I actually worked at like an escort gig with for a while, where he was one of the drivers. And I called him up and I was like, how's it going? What have you been up to? What are you doing? And he was like, well, me and this other guy that we were friends with, he's like, me and my buddy, he's like, you remember him, right? And I'm like, yeah. He was like, well, we're working for the funeral home. And it was mind blowing to me because I'd never even thought of that as a job.
Yeah,
and I was
didn't
like,
even consider it.
didn't even consider it. At the time, probably wasn't even thinking about dying, much more than just like, dramatically,
Yeah.
So I asked Joe, I was like, are you guys hiring? And he was like, yeah, we're hiring. He was like, but they don't hire women often. And I said, well,
Cool.
why? Yeah, I was like, well, I just can't wait to fucking work for this industry,
Yeah,
right? But I was like, why? And he was like, well, because it's really shitty. But he was like, because you have a bunch of old school like embalmers and morticians, and they don't think that women can lift the heavy weight. They just don't. And I was like,
Cool.
Let's see if I can get hired. And after that,
You walk in,
I walked in just
50-pound
fucking.
kettlebells.
I walked in just fucking ripped. Well, and in a weird way, kind of like at some point, if we're hanging out, I'll show you guys pictures of me from when I lived in California. I looked so totally different. I was working in a warehouse and I was lifting like 100 pounds up over my head. So when I walked in, I was like super physically fit, and I was just like ready to pick up the dead, just like ready to do it.
Yeah.
Just like let's fucking do this.
Crank
But
them out, Dom.
yeah, he's like let's everybody's dying. There's always going to be a market. But so Joe was like, yeah, we need somebody, and I can get you an interview. He was like, the job is working from midnight to noon, and you're going to be by yourself in a van with a pager and a Nextel cell phone, like one of the chunky ones that like goes like
Sign.
that
The
you
one
can go like
that's-
you can go like
chirps.
the one that goes
Yeah.
like beep beep like that. Like when I hear that, because people still have that on their phone. When I hear that,
Occasionally,
it still makes me like jump because I can't tell you how many times I had been like almost asleep in the van waiting for a call.
Yeah.
And then you get that call, you get the like chirp chirp like right before you're about to get off work, and you've already been working like 13 and a half hours. Sometimes you're working like 72 hours straight because people call out sick, but you're working midnight to noon, and people don't stop dying.
No,
That's
yeah.
one thing people don't stop doing. They will never stop dying.
So you're
And
in the corpse van. That's
I was
what I'm
in the
understanding.
corpse van. I didn't work for like King County Medical Examiner. They have like they have a much tougher job because their work they go by themselves. They don't have a partner. Funeral homes have like they've pretty much got it down pat. People have been dying since the beginning of people. So like it is a racket, I think. So it's a racket, and I can tell you right now that the company that I worked for owns almost all of the funeral homes that you
really?
guys see, almost all of them, and they charge different prices at all of them. So just FYI on that. If you fucking die in Seattle or Bellevue, it's going to cost you more money than if you die in Renton or Tacoma.
Oh, it's just like rent.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it's very much like rent. Dying for the people that know you after you're gone is very much like rent.
Perfect.
Do you have any advice for how to inquire what things cost? Like if you have a loved one that dies and you are responsible for logistics.
Yes.
And you're like calling around to see who charges what. Do you have
Yeah.
any advice on like how to not be taken for a ride?
So the biggest piece of advice that I can give anybody, if this even makes it into a podcast, is all you people that are
Edit
alive
this out.
out there,
Right?
all you people that are alive out there, write down what you want people to do with you at the end.
Yeah.
Like even if it's just on a piece of paper, don't be lame. Everybody fucking dies. You're not getting out of this alive, right? So it's not morbid. It's pretty practical.
Yeah, it's actually
And-
makes things easier for your family.
Super practical, and it also because the living, like death and memorials and remembrances, that's for people that are still alive. You're dead. You're not going to worry about it, So So biggest piece of advice is one, just get a piece of paper, all of y'all. And if you don't already have one, because I still remember being like, 13 and like doing my own will. If you don't already have a will. Yeah, isn't it? Super cute.
Yeah, I remember doing that.
Hey, Winona.
Yeah, I know, right? Not really cutting myself. Just like a safety pin, But my advice would be to, first, if you're alive, congratulations, write down what you want to do when you're dead, and then maybe
I don't
really feel like doing much. I just want to like lie around a bit.
yeah, right.
We'll embalm you and just give him a big thumbs up.
I want someone to come in during my open casket funeral and then just be like, hey, it's part of his religion he just joined, and it's really important. Just put big googly eyes over my eyes. Or I want to have an open casket where it's just the part that's open is like my feet.
Oh no! Like I'm telling you,
buried in a
people fucking do artistic work in the funeral homes, like ain't nobody's business. Like people have been.
I've seen Bernie.
Yeah, hopefully this isn't too graphic, but people will literally be like in pieces, and the old. I don't know. It's been a long time since I worked there now, but the old embalmers were fucking magical human beings, and they could take like a motorcycle accident and make that person look like they did before they died. And it was pretty fancy. Like some people wanted some cool shit too. Like a guy that was like just a big Seahawks fan, like big time Seahawks fan. He was embalmed. He was embalmed and then he was made to sit in his recliner with his favorite game on a little TV in front of him with a like Seahawks lap band.
I love that.
And a remote in his hand and a beer. And that was like
that's amazing.
Amazing.
So it's like,
Holy Christ.
So my advice to people that are dealing with the loss of somebody is it all depends on what you want to do and what you think people can afford, because people can sky's the limit. You can have like a sealed temperature controlled casket that won't leak or like lose any air for like 50 years.
Why?
Because that's how afraid of being in the ground people are. But they're also afraid of everything.
But if I throw money at it, it'll be better.
Yeah. But so people, and then also it's a point of pride too. Like I feel like on the West Coast, people care a little bit less about burial.
Yeah, I will say that being from the Midwest, it's much more important there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Y'all got more space out there.
That's also true.
More space. Well, it's huge on the East Coast though. Like it's big time. And so like if you ever
trends go east to west.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if you ever want to like read up on some of these like old crematories or funeral homes, or just like the racket, because on the East Coast especially it was mafia driven. So it was like the mafia like totally controlled tons of crematories. And why wouldn't you? I mean, what a great fucking idea.
Yeah.
It's like
if I own the people who work there, then they will do whatever I say and not tell anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also,
hey,
what a very
burn these
way.
two, bury that one,
Exactly,
and
like-
we're paying for this one, so don't fuck it up.
The DiMaggios are going to be pissed.
Yeah. But anyway, my advice would be to assess yourself first and the people that are left for what you can actually do and what would be meaningful. So
yeah, I mean, I've been to one. What do you like a viewing?
Open casket or
open casket
awake?
viewing?
Or-
Yeah.
no, he was a dead.
But it was actually Michael from Paul's podcast, and it was really weird because he's he's not so much younger than me, but 21 versus 25 is like enough.
Yeah. There's some distance there.
Yeah, and I don't know. I didn't like it. It was very disturbing to me.
it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
Like the person looks, and that's the other thing too. Many years in the funeral home, when you're dead, you look dead. Like it doesn't matter how much
no
makeup.
hiding it.
Did not look.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really
you are
strange.
inanimate, and doesn't
wasn't
matter how much
expecting that.
fucking makeup the person puts on you, or how pink they make the lighting. Because if you notice that they
They
have like
did have
think
the
about
different-
that.
like different
Shit,
lighting.
They do that.
Yeah, and so they'll do all these little tricks to like sort of give a more living glow to things. But yeah, it can be super disturbing to people. But it was such a trend with our grandparents and some of our parents, like their generation, to do it, to like, to like have the burial plots and like buy, like, because it can be a tax write-off too. So it's like you buy the land to be buried in.
Yeah.
And so they've already, it's called a pre-need. It's before you need it. And that's really like serious. It's called a pre-need, and you sign it. You pay for it. You pay for your plot or your cremation, and you sign a bunch of paperwork. And when you pass away, the funeral home that you have signed with comes and picks you up. And so that's what I did. I was a removal technician, is what they called me. And
okay, so that's actually what you were. You were picking up folks who have already bought the ticket and have now gotten off the ride.
Some.
Did you call
taking
yourselves
the
the takey techs?
The takey techs? No, but like, I mean, talk about like, I think me and you were talking about like the hangman humor of it all. Yeah, the gallows humor. So many times, like my coworkers, just the ridiculous shit that you do from midnight until noon. Like I walked into the office one night and two of my coworkers were playing with like the little, the little green army men.
Yeah.
Like just two dudes hanging out, fucking playing army, like at 3 a.m. Like at 3 a.m. And I like to this day, I still can't eat like, or I can't keep meatloaf. Like I can't keep it. I like meatloaf. I'll eat it. Sure. But if I eat it, it's done. Like I don't put it in the refrigerator because meatloaf cold has a very human smell to it, like a very dead human smell to it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So just FYI, you guys. Yeah. So like, so there's like a smell, and it's so weird
Smells
because
like death warmed over.
Yeah, because I mean, funeral, like especially like the cool rooms, like we would just call them the fridges, but people would say temperature controlled environments.
Euphemism.
Yeah, that's right. It's everything makes death nicer. So, it's like the company I worked for didn't even have a name. They just, had 3 letters that they used. And I thought it was really charming that, what show was it?
Were those letters DED?
No, but they should have been. No, it's
Dead.
Yeah. Oh my God. No, but they were made fun of in that TV show, 6 Feet Under. So like when their tiny funeral home is about to get bought by the big corporation, they transposed a couple of the letters of that big corporation's name, and that was like the corporation I worked for.
I see.
Okay, gotcha.
So you're part of the problem.
So I was totally part of the problem, and that's where I met my husband. I was like sitting there reading a book. He came in to train me on how to pick up dead people. And
really happy this took enough.
Yeah.
It's like, please don't end here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But his dad was what they call a classic mortician, and he had grown up in the funeral home like grubby. So like when I was working there, it was like
classic morticians and then jazz morticians.
There are jazz morticians. Well, now
Vincent Price fit in.
now everyone's like super compartmentalized, right? So it's like now you have removal technicians, and you have directors, and you have business operations supervisors and managers.
Industry.
It is a whole industry, and you have embalmers. Whereas like my husband's dad and like their set, they had to be able to do it all. So they had to be able to go pick up the loved one, meet with the family, sell the, like if there wasn't a pre-need, sell the plot, like sell the funeral, basically, like to somebody who's like super grieving, and make money, and then embalm the person, and then cremate them or bury them, and like do the whole fucking thing, do the whole thing. And I've heard so many stories about bodies being lost, and
this isn't my house.
yeah, and or
it was always black.
Well, I mean, I wasn't there. I wasn't there
This
during
is
this
the
90s.
time.
I wasn't there during this time, but my understanding is that like during like the late 70s, early 80s, there was a body that was accidentally cremated. Which is obviously like a big fucking
I
no-no.
remember hearing. Like,
Yeah. Well, with this,
we're not charging you. That's the good news. Bad news.
Yeah.
Here's a to-go
Yeah.
bag.
Yeah. Here's a little like takeout box.
Just a Folgers tin. I got a big,
which that's
Lebowski.
no, that's totally a thing. That's totally a thing. Like that is the cheapest receptacle. Because it's not an urn, because an urn is too offensive.
Of course. Yes.
Urn is too offensive to say.
Also
It's
call it
receptacle.
receptacles.
Yeah,
God.
receptacle.
Sometimes I get annoyed by people's feelings.
Well, and all it's doing is just hiding the fact that you're going to die.
Yeah.
It's preying on people's fear of death. Because of course and then it's also preying on like how people feel about each other. So it's like, if somebody I super love died, now I know it's all about me. Like whatever it is that I want to do, if I can afford it within reason, I'm going to do it, going with their wishes, hopefully, you know?
Right.
Well,
but
I'm sure they sell people on of like,
Oh, yeah.
well, don't you love your X, Y, or Z?
Yeah.
Wouldn't
Only
you
the
want them
best
to,
for your loved ones.
Yeah.
for them
Oh,
who's
they-
not going to
They
feel
have
it or see it?
100 years worth of keywords they
Yeah,
can use
exactly.
to make it not sound cheesy and gross.
yeah. But you know, it's funny because they don't even really have to use those words.
Yeah.
Not when you're like, not when your dick is in the dirt and like and you know, like that, and the person and someone you love is gone, right? So it's like they don't even have to use those choice words. They just
Yeah.
have to kind of be there, and you don't know what to do, right? Because you don't know. Like somebody's dead, nobody's prepared you. All you know is that you don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
so it's
You're
like
the experts.
yeah,
You
you're
do
the-
everything
Yeah,
for me,
here's my fucking like
here's my credit card.
here's my credit card. Like it used to be like, here's my checkbook, just like $50,000. Like let's do this, you know.
It's
And
Buck Lebowski.
and still to this day, at several places, one of them in White Center, one of them in West Seattle, they no longer keep bodies there because everything's centralized, kind of like, you know, it's all changed and compartmentalized.
Creepy.
So they don't even keep the bodies there anymore. Like you'll go into the funeral home to talk to them, you'll sign the paperwork there,
Yeah.
but all the bodies are kept at a place in North
The
Seattle.
dump. No.
Yeah, at the dump, kind of, because some of these old funeral homes have beautiful rooms, beautiful viewing rooms, beautiful coolers, you know, that just look a little bit more classy.
Yeah.
But they go to a centralized location up north, which is why it sucks so bad to be like, if you walk into a funeral home in Bellevue, they're going to charge you like $5,000 more than if you walk into their funeral home in White Center, and
It's the same
everybody's
thing.
going to the same centralized place while the embalmer like takes care of them, you know. So
No, it's cool. It's right next to a McDonald's distribution house. You can get mac sauce
it
and corpse.
actually is right next to it's right next to a lot of nothing. It's at least it's still in like a really pretty funeral home, but they built out the funeral home to be like this big, you know,
Yeah.
holding space.
It reminds me of when it must have been like early middle school or elementary school, that big mansion type building in Des Moines
Oh yeah.
that overlooks the water. Somebody convinced me that I don't know if it was a retirement home in the past.
It was.
Yeah.
It used to be.
Okay,
yeah.
yeah. So when it was a retirement home, they convinced me that the funeral and cremation and all the body storage was in the basement, and you just kind of like wait up there until you die, then all they have to do is bring you downstairs, and then they have a funeral for you out back.
It's real convenient.
I promise you.
Like an all-in-one.
I promise you, it's not it, because I drug a lot of bodies out of there.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. I can't tell you. I'll never go to Highline Hospital for anything more than like a fucking toenail needing to get like done.
The rating has improved over time, but
Yeah.
at one point in the not too distant past, it was rated an F.
Yeah,
Highline what?
Highline Hospital,
I
like
just got
Highline
care.
right
I
here.
just got care there, and I found it good.
Well, I mean,
I got care there too. It was great. Maybe it's improving.
plenty of people live, and then other people just accidentally fall out of bed and die
Huh.
there
Did
too.
people fall out of the bed and die by accident?
They have there.
Okay.
I've picked them up. I'm here to tell you. I'm here to
Here
tell
it
you.
is.
Here to tell you what's happened. Not everything is. I mean, it's it's a personal opinion.
Yeah.
CHI Franciscan Highline.
No, I do know that Highline
Yeah.
has terrible ratings, but also,
I mean, they have like the
depends on
staff.
the
I have
there.
friends that work there. The staff are really cool. Like I feel bad for the patients. It's just how it's run. Is usually how
I
those
see.
things go.
It's usually-
And the F rating comes from a combination of patient outcomes, bureaucracy, like how different departments communicate with each other,
Yeah.
how many mistakes are made with like ordering medications, receiving medications, administering medications.
Oh man, like
So
never mind.
it's gotten better over time. It's, I think now at B, but-
Which is good.
Yeah, which is
really
good.
cross-departmental communication people. Let's
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And making sure people take their medication on time, because I'm sure that this like whoopsie daisy sort of like bumpsy bruisey fall out of the bed where this person died was actually more about they probably needed like a blood thinner that they didn't take on time, or something. But yeah, so there's a lot of things really quick that you need just to wrap it up, you need a little bit of cash, or at least somebody who's willing to lend you a little bit of cash. You can apply. There is help for people that don't have any fucking money. So you can apply for assistance for direct cremation. So that means, your loved one just gets cremated, and then they release the ashes to you. Sometimes it's
without
paid
embalming.
Without embalming. Without embalming. There are people that choose to embalm their loved ones and then cremate them, and I've never really understood it. I feel like it's just during the grieving process. They don't understand. They think that a body has to be embalmed. I'm here to tell you folks, a body does not have to be embalmed. Don't get led by them. It's just more cost, and if they're going to be cremated, unless there's a real big traditional viewing, like
right,
you're Irish Catholic, or actually a lot of religions don't want to embalm at all, to the point
adulterating the body.
To the point where we would have to put people on ice, to just keep them good enough to when they were going to do the viewing, like the traditional viewing. But yeah, so be a little fluid if you can, ask your buddies for a couple bucks, because you do have to pay for a death certificate. You do have to pay for somebody to come and pick your loved one up. And then you have to pay for whatever it is that they're going to get done.
Can you get an Uber?
You can. What lots of people don't fucking know is you can if I died, right? If I died and it was of natural causes and everybody knew. So that's the other thing too, is that there's a number that's given by the King County Medical Examiner for everyone who dies in King County. So if you die, they go, oh, was there a pre-existing condition, or do we have to investigate? If they have to investigate, if you were at a party and you fell off the deck and you fucking died, they may or may not investigate. If everyone saw you fall and you died, they might be like, fuck it, you fell and you died. Yeah. Or if somebody was like, we didn't really see what happened, they might hold the body and investigate. And then once they close, once they close the investigation.
104 years old.
Dude, there have been some bodies in there for a long time, unclaimed bodies.
It casually sound like you go and pick the bodies up. It's I can just invite somebody over to my house, kill them. As long as I have the right number, I don't need to call 911. I just call you.
A phone number.
There's a lot
number.
There's a lot of if you want to get diabolical, Dallas, with it, you can. Just go right to the people that have a pre-existing condition and become the pre-existing condition killer.
It's called the United States healthcare.
Yeah, it is. Oh my gosh, it totally is. So you've got to. So a number is issued that says it's okay for your body to be released to wherever it's going, whether it's the funeral home or some other fucking place. Because there are direct cremation services. You don't have to go through a funeral home. You can just call.
Old body burning van.
No, that was my idea.
Chimney coming out.
That was my idea. Cremate while you wait. There was a double retort, and I would just have because you have to have enough space, because cremation is actually not great for the environment too. But you have to have enough space to double loop the air back in, so that you're not just fucking tearing a hole into the ozone's ass. And
the good thing is on the weekends you make it a food truck, do wood fired pizzas, make a killing.
Seriously.
Jesus.
Pizza from below.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes.
The crust rises from the grave.
Rise from your grave. Crust rising.
I still think that cremate while you wait would be a good idea.
No,
but
great.
my coworker, thank you, because nobody seems to think it would be a good idea. I think it's brilliant. So be a little fluid if you can, and then just know you don't actually have to do anything. There's nothing. There is a certain amount of time legally that you can have a body. But it can be for a long time. I've picked up a lot of what they call decomps, and that's people that have died and didn't have somebody in their life, and somebody just does a wellness check.
Yeah, they're living alone, and they just
I've heard about that a lot.
Yeah, so that's happened. More times than I can count.
I live alone and I worry about that.
I'm sad that this was happening at the end of the podcast while we're about ready to wrap. I was anyway, so advanced stages of decay. I was well, I'm fascinated.
Yeah, I'm like
part two.
Yeah, so part two. Part two with just the they're all part two with just the funeral home.
Hey, if you're willing to come on again for just talk about
honestly, I'd love to
morose shit, bring it on.
No, my mom made me hate funerals because she got traumatized when her dad died in the 70s, and they had a 3-day funeral and wake for him.
Why?
And she said it was the most traumatic thing she's ever experienced.
Because people think they have to. Like it's
Yeah,
amazing.
old-school
It's
Polish
amazing what you
Catholics.
think. Yeah, and
Right.
especially, and you think that your neighborhood. Like, you think that if you don't do all this shit, that everyone's going to be like,
Mad
they didn't
at
do
you,
all this
or-
shit for this person, you know? Like, it's a reflection of who they were in your life. And that's why, like, seriously, you guys are lucky because there was still some of that, like, in, like my older siblings, you know, they still feel kind of that way. I'm the youngest. My oldest sibling is in his 50s.
Okay.
But they still kind of feel that way where it's like, you know, he wants to be buried, you know, traditionally.
Yeah.
Me and my brother Chuck were just like, however you guys want to
Dumpster.
do it. Like, you know, whatever's cheapest, whoever is alive wants at the time. Like, that's actually stipulated in my like list of wants, you know. No matter what somebody does with me, I just want somebody to put on clean socks on me first, because clean socks feel so good. and red lipstick, right?
There you go.
Because like, if you're gonna go anywhere, you should have red lipstick on.
Yeah,
Amen.
I
Yeah.
really wish I could wear a brand new pair of socks every day.
Fuck
It'd
yeah.
make mornings so much better.
Yeah.
every
you're not
every
wrong.
morning it is great if you have a brand new pair of socks.
Socks right out of the dryer too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
But
So you
new
m-
socks even.
But you did meet your husband at the funeral home.
Did meet at the
Got
funeral
it.
home. Yep.
Yeah.
Did meet at the funeral home. And he's lovely, has a lovely family. He got fired from that job several years after for
Well,
right
you should met him first.
for wrecking two vans, one right after the other.
Oh, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the weird thing about him getting fired is that we fast forwarded. We still have lots of friends that work there. We have like a really good friend of ours that's one of the crematory operators, and they have these meetings every week. So it's like the weekly meeting where it's like they buy pizza, and Pepsi, you know, and
Meatloaf.
and they all and like no, like so part of it is that my old boss used to come and microwave his meatloaf in like the room that we were sitting in, and it smelled so much like the cooler that it was like I just can't get it
It's
out
just
of my
upsetting.
head. But yeah, so they have these weekly meetings, and somebody brought up in the meeting last time, no one's ever been fired for wrecking a vehicle, and my really good friend that still works there was just like, yeah, actually somebody was like, he got fired. You guys just don't remember because there's so much turnover at the funeral home.
Oh no.
That's
But
funny.
he did. And that's, the job is really difficult. Like, it's emotionally difficult, and it's like a hurry up and wait job. So it's like you're in your van driving someplace, and then you have to be athletic. Like, you have to,
Ugh.
like, still to
Yeah.
this day, me and my husband will like be walking, and we'll look at people's houses and just go like, how difficult would it be to get a body out of there? Like,
Oh my gosh.
like-
it's so, yeah, I get that. No, that-
I do deliveries. I think about that all the time. It's like, oh, that building looks like a bitch to get
yeah.
into.
Would we have to get the caught up on end? Like, how would we have to do it? Like, he says that he's a lot more funny than I am. Because I have no plan. Like I said, I'm just like, whatever's cheapest for whoever. Sean, I hope that's okay. Or we can like, you know,
His name's Burl.
Burl. Burl, on the other hand, wants to be walled in to a lighthouse, like 500 pounds. Like, he wants to have, if he knows he's going to die, he said he's just going to fucking eat as much ice cream and McDonald's as he possibly can, become the heaviest person he can. And then he's going to wall himself in to like a lighthouse or an attic, like someplace
You're never
crazy.
gonna get me out of here, boys.
Because I can't tell you how many times, especially when him and I were training for whatever reason, because like types of death come in waves, right? So it's like, when I very first started working there, I got like tons of decomps, like it's like one right after another. So it's like I go to the person's house, they've been down for a really long time, and you have to wade through all their stuff, and then
Shovel them up into a bag.
somewhat, yeah, pretty much, like, you know, what you can get,
Burn the house
kind
down
of a
on
thing.
your way out.
Yeah, and then there's a whole bathroom thing where it's like people die in the bathroom a
Oh,
lot.
yeah, you fall in the shower,
gosh.
break your neck, and the shower's been
Or
running for...
just literally taking a shit, because having a heart attack feels like you need to take a shit.
Oh.
So that's like one of the signs, is like you kind of feel like indigestion,
Yeah.
and so you just go like, oh man, I don't feel very good, like
Go
kind of
sit
sweaty.
on the toilet. I
Yeah.
mean, that's how...
And then you bear down.
Yeah, and then
it
you bear down.
exacerbates the problem.
Sure.
And,
That's how I almost died.
I can't tell you how many times it just went in like a series where it was like every call I was getting was like somebody wrapped around the toilet. So if
Got
you think about
another
if you think about the toilet, so you think about they probably felt the heart attack coming on, like went to get up because you're in the bathroom, so you're trapped. So your whole everything kicks in. Your senses are like, I'm going to save myself. So you go to get up, probably hopefully to call somebody. But then you fail, your body fails and you fall.
Yeah.
And then you rigor like that. However you fall is how your body
one of those
riggers.
Fucked up like metal link puzzles where you're like trying
Yeah.
to like
Where-
adjust and the slide thing.
Where it's like you have to work the joints, out so that it gets some of the rigor
This is
out.
a lot worse than I thought it was.
No,
it's fine.
Save Dallas's delicate constitution. Why don't we wrap it up? Right
Okay,
about
I'm
here?
sorry. Oh wait, can I say
yes.
one? I
Yes,
just want to
yes,
say
of
one
course.
thing really fast. One thing that I thought was really kind of fucked up, and this will end, and I was kind of planning on ending this
Okay.
with this because the beginning starts with Taco Bell, and the end is going to end with Kentucky Fried Chicken.
As it always does.
I can't, and they're both owned by the same company. So
Yeah,
Yum
Yum
Foods.
Brands.
yeah. So
Owns Pepsi too.
yeah, they own
Brain.
Pepsi. Yep, that's right. Pinch poke. What? So the reason I'm ending it on Kentucky Fried Chicken is because I'm not kidding you guys. I have gone into multiple people's homes where they had just eaten Kentucky Fried Chicken and they fucking had a heart attack and died.
Interesting.
Like multiple homes where there is a bucket of cold chicken
Oh my God.
with flies on it, and not looking good, open. And
As
there
far
you
as
go.
last
That's
meals
the
go,
tie-in. As far as last meals go, I mean, it could be worse, right? But so that is the, I guess, Yum Company, Pepsi Company, Taco Bell tie-in, right?
Hell
So is
yeah.
that
Are you
Kills
saying
a
you
lot of
don't
people.
eat Kentucky Fried Chicken?
I don't eat Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Do you eat
anymore.
fried chicken?
Not as much. Like my husband and his family, like they don't care. Like they're just so
Just
beyond
now
it.
and meatloaf
Yeah, he still makes meatloaf. He doesn't give a fuck. Like a cold meatloaf sandwich with rye. That's like his favorite thing. He doesn't give a fuck. But me, I'm just like, I don't.
good.
Yeah, I'm never gonna have KFC. I'm definitely never gonna have cold meatloaf. And
That's where I'm going for my birthday.
yeah, let's
Fried chicken and meatloaf.
Do KFC.
KFC.
Do KFC. But so for you guys, just remember, like, definitely don't eat KFC like on the toilet by yourselves.
Well, not like that,
At the top of a lighthouse.
Jesus.
Anyway, thank you for tuning into So What Did You
Yeah,
Learn?
thank you for coming on. That
Thank
was
you.
Thanks for
fantastic.
coming on.
Thanks.
Yeah. You can send us an email or follow us on Twitter and Instagram, SoWDYLearnPod. Send us an email at SoWDYLearn@gmail.com.
Yeah.
If you have stories
You want to share with
They don't
us,
have-
and we can read
yeah.
them on the podcast.
Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it. Also,
But-
join the Facebook group. And if you liked last week's Loose Lessons episode, let us know. Or if you think there can be improvement on it, also let us know.
Yeah, if you have things you want us to talk about or want to pivot off of story-wise, send that in. Give us whatever.
Yeah.
We just want to
And
make
if
the best
you-
show possible.
And if
Yeah.
you hate every fucking second of every episode we've ever made and you want to let us know,
I don't blame you.
Your sense of masochism is astounding.
I mean, there's Yelp for that, people.
Right,
Just go
yeah.
to Yelp.
Good, yeah.
Well, what I do is I get myself a big bucket of fried chicken. I queue up the podcast. I sit on the toilet
By yourself.
by myself.
By myself.
In a lighthouse.
And, and walled into a lighthouse.
Phone's
500
dead.
pounds.
How'd you know?
Cue the guitars.
So, yeah, cue the guitars, dude.
Bye, everybody. We love you.
The The So What Did You Learn podcast is brought to you by the So What Did You Learn Network. Theme written and recorded by Jacob Rose. Our logo was designed by Stevie Van Bronckhorst. Further work of hers can be found at stevievanb.com.